Hello and salam alaikum. My name is Stacey and I'm sending this video from Canada. I am creating this video today to pledge my allegiance. So here it is. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. I bear witness that Ali and the Imams from his sons are the proofs of Allah. And I bear witness that the Mahdi and the Mahdis are the proofs of Allah. Upon this I shall live, upon this I shall die, and upon this I shall be resurrected again, God willing. Thank you for all of these divine teachings. I hope to be with you guys in the future, inshallah. And may peace and blessings be upon you all. Assalamu alaikum.
We're joined in the studio right now with our sister Stacey, all the way from Canada. How are you doing, Stacey?
I'm doing well, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for joining us here. We're very excited to hear your story and let the viewers in on your journey towards the truth and towards pledging your allegiance to Aba Al-Sadiq, from him is peace. So let's get right into it. What did you used to believe in before pledging your allegiance?
What I used to believe in, I guess growing up, we were Catholic. However, that being said, there was no real religion to it. I mean, you know, we would go to church periodically on Sundays. We would celebrate Christmas and Easter, but there was no real religion in it. It was more or less presents and chocolate, and there was no God in any of it. And then from there, I found Islam. That was after many years. I always had a belief in God, but I didn't believe that I had a religion per se. You know, I went through, you know, like I said, we would celebrate Christmas, but I didn't really understand why we did those things. You know, it would just be, oh, it's because Jesus died for our sins, and I just, it didn't really resonate with me. It was more or less just a chance for everybody to get together and party. That's always just what it was. It was everybody, you know, we'd meet up on the holidays and everybody would celebrate. And after going through some really dark times in my life, engaging in some really bad things, I started to look for God. And that's about the time I met my husband. And at that point, again, I didn't have a religion. But I decided to, you know, maybe go back to the Bible and try to find God that way. And then my husband, he would start explaining to me like the stories and things that I never necessarily heard before. And it started to spark an interest in me. He found peace in Islam, and I would never even think to look to Islam because, you know, growing up, there was always, like in my culture, they always had a bad name. You know, they were terrorists. You know, it's for the Arabs. We're white. That religion's not for us.
Right.
Very extremely stereotypical, and you know, so I would never even think to look there. And he told me that he was Muslim, and he started to, you know, explain the religion to me, and it really started to stick. I think at that point, God started to open my heart a little bit, and then I began, you know, watching videos and reading, and then I took my Shahada, and it changed me. I went from a period of my life where I was completely dark. I was completely lost. I was not on the right path at all, but I knew that I believed in God, and I knew that I needed God in my life, because if I didn't have God in my life, then I would have been on the path to darkness, and I'm not sure I ever would have gotten out of it. Wow. So yeah, so he introduced me to that, and I took my Shahada. And again, with this religion, I felt like it was just a lot of, I loved it and it changed me, but I didn't really understand it. I would try it. I would listen to the stories and listen to things, but I didn't really understand it. It was more or less, going through, praying 5 times a day, fasting in Ramadan, just a lot of, that's the word I'm looking for, the rituals. And, I would go to the mosque, and I never really felt, not that I guess I never really felt like included. Like I almost felt like I didn't belong in a sense. So it was basically like I followed the religion in a way where it was just like God and I, because obviously none of my friends or family, nobody was accepting of this at all. I was completely on my own, and everybody thought that I was crazy. And what are you doing? You're white. You're Catholic. I'm following the devil.
Oh, gosh.
So I had basically put all that aside, and then this religion came to me, Aba Sadiq, from him his peace, and it came again through my husband. He started to watch the videos, and I would kind of listen in, and I would be interested. And then again, he would start talking to me, asking me, what do I think? What do I think? And like some things I'd be like, oh, that's not what we're used to, like, I don't know about that. And then I would watch the video, and I'd be like, just completely blown away. And I would just be like, wow, that makes sense. And then he would say something else to me, and I'd be like, oh, I don't know. And then I would watch the video and be like, yes, that makes sense. So it just sort of brought everything that I knew about religion together. And when it was for everybody, when he talks about, Christianity and Judaism and Islam, and then it just seemed like there was all these just pieces laying around, and he just picked them all up and put them all together and just created something so beautiful that I was instantly drawn into it. And it didn't take me long at all before I was an absolute believer, and I didn't believe that there could be any other way whatsoever. And it was probably just a few weeks before my mind was made up completely. So it didn't take long. The message was that strong that it just took me over 100%.
I think that's the beauty of the call of Aba Sadiq. When someone out there truly wants to find God or the truth like you did, they realize that he makes sense of all those stories that we know, of all those pieces of the puzzle, like you put it, that if there is a truth, then it should connect everything. And he's the only one who manages to connect it in the divine way, because he knows the truth. And you recognize that, and you came towards it.
Sorry. Well, for some people, it is a little bit, because we've seen many comments, like, especially from Christian people, Catholic people, they come to us with this, you're mixing up all the religions, you're just making a mesh of all the religions. But I think when somebody's sincere and they're looking for God, regardless where, and somebody like you, for example, sister, who has taken like a journey, you went from Christianity to Islam to knowing the Ahmadi religion, and you found that obviously there's more to the story than just what they tell you in one religion. So when somebody comes and tells us, okay, this is how all the pieces fit together, that for a person who's sincerely seeking, I think that's a big proof instead of like something to complain about.
Exactly.
And like and this is what I found in the Quran. I found that I read it a couple of times, and I never really understood it. It just seemed to me like there was like some missing parts, like some missing like, and the way it flowed, it just, it didn't, I mean, it's beautiful, but I had a lot of questions about it. And then, once I started listening to, Aba Sadiq, from him his peace, it just, everything about it, it completely makes sense to me now. started answering questions that I didn't even know that I had, and and then I actually started off with the first covenant, and I worked my way up from there watching the videos. And it was shocking to me. It was shocking to me that there was so much more to every single story than what I knew. And and the way everything clicked at that point. It started to make sense.
So for the viewers, I encourage you, if you haven't seen the episode that Sister Stacey is talking about, you can go to the Mahdi Has Appeared YouTube channel, and Aba Sadiq the Qaim has actually talked about the Quran and the fact that the version we have today is the one that was compiled in the time of Uthman ibn Affan, the third caliph after Prophet Muhammad, and that's why it's not the original Quran. So definitely check that out if you're not aware of it. But yes, Stacey, you're totally right. There were parts missing, and that's why it didn't fully make sense.
And there's also another episode that Aba Sadiq made, which is called "The Gospel of Muhammad."
Yes,
which talks about how Prophet Muhammad, when he came and he brought the Quran, he didn't mean for it to be just like a standalone piece of content that people would just engage with and forget everything else. But instead,
absolutely,
it was meant to be like the third part of the trilogy of the Bible, so to speak. So that means when you read the Quran, you have to refer back to the books of old, and you have to refer back also not only to the Bible itself, because Prophet Muhammad comes and validates all these kinds of stories.
Well, exactly.
But not only in the Torah and not only in the canonical Gospels, he validates all these sorts of stories which are not present in what is the Bible. So Prophet Muhammad is coming to tell you, hey, look for it, like go and find the truth in the world. There's truth everywhere, so you have to go and find it. And as you said, like when you actually go and do your research, you find that there's way more to the story than anybody has told us at these churches and synagogues and mosques.
Absolutely. And Stacey, you brought up something, by the way, that kind of struck a thought in my mind. You said that once you had accepted Islam, you were still seen kind of like an outsider, like you didn't fit in. And at the same time, you lost a great deal of your repute with your family members and your friends, because now you're entering into a religion that they're not familiar with. What was that like? It must have been so strange to be stuck in the middle like that.
I always felt like when I went to the mosques and everything, I would try to say, salam and, initiate conversation. And sometimes they wouldn't even look at me,
oh, goodness.
And it made me feel like this is supposed to be, what I've learned about the religion is that, everybody's welcome, and you're supposed to treat everybody like your brother, like your sister. And it's like I can't say that I didn't get that from everybody, but it's kind of just like the vibe that I felt when I entered into the mosques. I went to one mosque one time. I moved to a new area, and there's a mosque down the street, and I went there alone, and they were extremely unwelcoming. They brought me down into the basement, and there was nobody there. And I was there for, a good 20 minutes, and I was thinking, okay, well, this is probably where the women pray. They must be coming down soon. And then the prayer started, and nobody was there. And I was like, what is going on? Because I knew that it was full upstairs. And then I realized that they segregated me because of my skin color.
Oh my goodness. That's really that's so against the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. Peace be upon him.
Yeah, and it was kind of hurtful, and I kind of felt, I was almost like I felt, embarrassed, I guess, in a sense.
No, of course.
Needless to say, I never went back there, and I tried another place, and I was able to pray with everybody else, but it didn't feel like a community to me.
Well, Stacey, you've read The Goal of the Wise. You've seen how Aba Sadiq from his peace has brought up the covenants, and that the sixth covenant was with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family. And we know from Aba Sadiq's teachings that Islam today has really nothing to do with the true authentic religion and call of Prophet Muhammad. They've really taken out the meaning and the essence of it. And they've reduced it to, like you said, just a set of rituals that are empty. Can you comment on that? The fact that you've actually experienced Islam in today's day and age, mainstream Islam, I'd like to say, the institution of it, compared to the authentic message that Prophet Muhammad brought, and which doesn't exist really anymore.
Yeah, I mean, with the Islam that there is today, I feel like it's very cliquey in a sense that, you know, they believe that the Arabs believe that the religion is for them, basically. And after, you know, hearing this call and hearing the message, it's just not the case at all. The religion was meant for everybody.
Absolutely.
For the whole world. But then they just decided to take that into their own hands. And I guess out of greed, or I don't know what it is, power, but they decided to just make it just for them. Try to make it just for them until this new call came. And it's a worldwide message. And that's what really struck me is during one of the serums, Aba Al-Sadiq, he was basically standing there and he was welcoming everybody. Everybody. It doesn't matter what color you are, what you've done in your past, where you're from, that this message is for everybody and anybody, and everybody's welcome. And like that's something that I've never heard before. And that made me feel really good because, you know, being when I converted to Islam before, I never felt like I was able to be my true self because I was so ashamed of the things that I've done in the past that I didn't think that I was worthy of this. And I used to, you know, wish that I was born, you know, into Islam. And, you know, I would look at, you know, the way the women are dressed and certain things. And like, I almost felt envious or something in a way. And I would always pray, like, I want to be pure. I want to be pious like that. I would always pray. And I pray so much for that. And to be like the woman that I saw at the mosque, because they seemed like they were on the right path and they seemed so pious. And now, looking back at that, I'm thinking, wow, what a silly way that was to think, you know, because it doesn't matter what I've done, you know, what matters is where I am now and what I believe in now and the path that I'm on now.
Exactly.
And if I didn't go through all of those terrible things, then I never would have looked for God. Or if I was born into an Islamic family, then I would be so stuck in my ways that if this message came to me, then maybe I would just brush it off because I would think that it's, you know, the devil, or which most people think,
Heresy,
right? So,
right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, sister, I mean, you're comparing yourself to your way of thinking now to your way of thinking back then, right? And I would like you to go deeper with this. Like now, how would you say your life has changed after knowing Aba Al-Sadiq and joining the religion of God?
I feel like now, I can see through everything, if that makes sense. I just see this life in this world now in a whole different light. Like when it comes to, you know, the governments or the people that are in rule and the way people are being oppressed and hunger and this and that, it's just like I see it now. It's like I've woken up, and I didn't see that before. And every time I watch a video or I listen to Aba Al-Sadiq, it's like this light turns on inside me, and I just view the world extremely differently now. Before, you know, I was concerned about, I had to like make something out of myself. You know, I had to have a house, I had to have a car, I had to look a certain way. I needed that career. And now I don't care about any of that. It means nothing to me. It's completely worthless. I don't want to. I learned after hearing this call that this life it's not real. Like, you have to do whatever you can in this life in order to have success in this next life. And that just means to be completely selfless and not focus all your time trying to climb up in this dunya. If that makes sense.
That really makes a lot of sense. That is such a beautiful way to put it.
So how your relationship with God and what do you think about him? How do you see him now?
That's a great question.
How has that changed?
I view God as less, I guess you could say, less scary. Because before I heard this message, I was more fearful of God. Like, I knew that God was, all forgiving, but all merciful. But, with Islam, they really drilled it into your head that to really fear God. So I felt myself fearing God more than I felt myself being grateful. Mm-hmm. And now I still have the fear, obviously, because but I find myself being more grateful for the things, not the things that I have, but for the things that are important. And I'm incredibly grateful for this religion. So incredibly grateful for Aba Al-Sadiq and that I've been put onto this path.
Alhamdulillah.
Because I always, even when I would pray before I heard this call, like, my main thing, I always said, put me on the right path, please put me on the straight path. I would always pray for that. I didn't even know really what that even meant, but God answered my prayers, and here I am. I'm on the path, and I'm on my way. I'm on my way to you guys, inshallah.
So tell us about that. You actually, we were talking about this earlier. You were talking about how you had these aspirations for what you thought you were supposed to make your life look like, and now it's taken a dramatic shift. Can you comment on that and tell us why that's significant?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always kind of felt like, I guess you can say, unsettled in my life. Mm-hmm. Like, I always felt like I was trying to climb, but I never really succeeded. I always felt like I needed a purpose. Like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Like, I'm constantly questioning myself, like, what, like, and then I felt like, okay, then I need to have a career. I need to have like a career, and that's my purpose. Like, that's what's going to give me peace. To have this, or I have to have a house in order to be successful in life. So then I decided to go to school for massage therapy. And basically, as soon as I would say the first month of me starting school, I heard this call. And I began to watch the videos, and everything changed for me. And I realized that I've always thought, like, I wanted to help people. I wanted to be involved in something. I wanted to make a change, but on like a great scale. And I thought, okay, well, maybe with massage therapy, maybe I'll have the chance, I can help people. I can help them with their injuries. I can help them, with their... So, and then I heard this call, and I realized that, and I'm focusing so much time on school and spending all this time on school that I didn't have, I guess I didn't have time for anything else. And then I heard Aba Al-Sadiq, he said, basically drop everything drop what you're doing right now, even if you and get to the amount of your time, even if you have to crawl on ice. And that's what made the decision for me, because I was, humming and hawing, like, I'm in school, like, what do I do? I almost felt kind of trapped in a sense. And then I asked God. I was, at nighttime I was praying, I was crying, and I really needed an answer. And then the next day I watched the video and he gave me my answer. And then I decided that instead of, focusing so much time and being so stressed out, trying to study and study and study to do something that I didn't even want to do, that was meaningless.
Wow.
I decided that it's time to do what he said, to drop everything and do everything in my power to try to get over there, to sell everything, to just focus my time on doing something that's related to my purpose. Because now I know what my purpose is. I understand what it is. I know why I'm here, and I know what I have to do. Yeah.
It's incredible. Can you verbalize what that purpose is, sister?
My purpose is, it's to spread the call. That's what my purpose is. I need to learn as much as I can about the religion so that I'm able to help people, which I always knew that I wanted to do, was to help people. But I didn't know how to help people. I tried the personal training, I tried the massage therapy, I tried the volunteering, the donating, but it just was never satisfying. There was always something else, and I figured out now how to help, not just help somebody, but to help humanity, to be a part of this great movement to actually change the state of the world. And that's the most important, honorable purpose that anybody could ever have, is to be a part of something. If I could just help change the mind of just one person, that would be incredibly rewarding and amazing. It just, when I heard this, I just want to scream it to everybody. I just want to tell everybody. And you think that people will have an easy time believing the way that I did, because I believed right away. And people are very, very stubborn. They're so stubborn.
You are an inspiration, though, Stacey, and you will have that voice that will touch people's hearts, and they will listen and say to themselves the same thing you're saying, which is, I want to help. How do I do it? And like you said, it's by supporting the man God sent to create a world, a divine just state where people can live and not be homeless, not be hungry, not be fighting, not be killing one another over the difference of religion or something so silly as racism. We want to create that world, like you said, and we can do it with people like yourself, with people who believe in it and who stand behind Aba Sadiq no matter what. This is what we're here for, inshallah.
Yeah.
I resonate with what you said about, because for me it was also like very easy to join the dawah, because basically my path of understanding the religion more and more and more just led me to understand that this is the natural step forward after after Islam. And then when you start speaking to people and when you start entering into conversations with people, you realize, well, for most of the people, it's not that easy. There's a lot of layers of misunderstandings and
conditioning and baggage and yes,
and attachment to previous ideas that makes it difficult for them. So, what would you advise? Because I'm a firm believer that there's also people like Stacey all over the world who are just ready to hear what's the true religion and just jump in and just
definitely
support with everything they have. So what advice would you give to somebody who is considering joining the religion and maybe making their research and just around the dawah, but haven't come in yet?
You haven't done the leap of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend starting with the first covenant and going through all of them, because that's really where I started to understand the most, because he takes you right from the very beginning of creation and works the way up until Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So I think personally, that's where I learned a lot, and I believe like that's kind of like a good place to start, especially if you don't have a lot of knowledge of, you know, other religions. That's where I really found the clarification into any questions that I had in regards to, you know, the story of Noah, the story of Jesus. That's where everything really started to make sense for me. And also too, it's don't be closed-minded. Don't be accepting to learning new information. And just because, you know, your priest or your pastor or your parents are telling you that you should follow this and this is the only way, and everything else that you look at as the devil, don't listen to that, because they're not right. There's more. There's so much more to the story than you'll ever know. And if you don't open your heart and open your mind to new information, then you're going to stay closed forever, and you'll never progress in anything in life if that's the way that you want to think. So I think that it's very important to just keep an open mind and to be accepting of new information, even if it may shock you.
Yes.
Be accepting of it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Stacey, it was such a pleasure talking to you and getting to know more about your journey. I'm sure it's going to be very inspiring for everyone out there listening. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your support and your love for the truth and for the cause and the messenger of God, Aba Sadiq. And God bless you.
God bless you too, sister. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
God bless you, Stacey.
God bless.